سبحانك لا الحمد وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى والله إلا خير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. How's everybody doing? Welcome to a quick little intake here on 117th in Lorain. We're gonna touch on, the attitude of religious people and some of the things that we might look at as maybe not being the greatest attributes of people who claim to be religious. Um, you know, one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had liked to try to get across to his believers is that you're not going to decide who's going to hear the message and who's not. And because of that very reason, he says to just give the message, and move on. Don't let it affect you in a negative manner. Don't let the argument or debate don't let it become something where pride and ego, because this is what it is. It's an element to trigger ego to come and attack you. So if you're so strong-willed with your beliefs in what I'm saying, in your religion, and I'm not saying that I disagree with the with you being correct or not, but I'm saying if you can't look at the window, what I'm saying, of the debate with somebody that can't be won as a risk to you and your own status as far as as far as what you're going to be held accountable for. Because if you're going to let pride and ego, take you down a path where you have to win the argument against somebody who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as God is not granted, the eligibility to be able to hear and understand the message. So the test then becomes this person to you. It has nothing really to do with that person per se, because ignorance is bliss. So the person who's holding this message close to them, that they're trying to either, trying to prove to you that, God has a name or an image, or, or something that the Mosaic law from, the time that Musa brought down, the law to his people, which then became programmed into every generation that moved forward from that point on. So if this person is trying to convince you, of something that is major shirk against what God has always said is the key elements to being a believer, all as we can do is go to that person and we can show them, because there's a long line of history called, the Holy Bible, the Torah, the Quran, that have some stuff in there that you know you can show somebody and say, if you're saying that it's this way, but the book that's supposed to back you in your belief is saying that this is what happens and this is what it is, then you can't go any further than that. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's trying to tell you that his hairstylist is God the Creator, and there's nothing you can do to convince him, but then he claims to be a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, you know, all you have to do is show him the Mosaic law, the commandments, and that should be enough right there for your side of the debate. And as soon as you came across a major point, there's no, you know, there's no reason to really dig deep, because what you're going to find out too is when you become schooled and well versed in topics, especially in religion, where so many people have you know became scholarly with no knowledge. You already know that you're traveling on a path hoping for enlightenment, and you can feel purchase on your steps as you're walking along, and you're moving towards this goal. And as you meet this person, a lot of times they lie in wait. I'm saying, during the conversation, the topic, they'll make you believe that they're understanding what you're trying to say to them. They're because and you buy into it, because what you're saying to them is, you know it's backed up by revelation. Beyond that, it's logical, it makes sense. And usually you can go back and you can show the exact point in the history of God's religion that it came to be this way or came to be known this way. So these people will actually sit back and they'll be head bobbing like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm saying, oh right, oh I get, yeah, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, yeah, but no, I'm saying, no, you know my beliefs, they'll always go to their beliefs, even if you could shatter their beliefs with a videotape that would be forensically proven to be authentic, showing them that their beliefs were based on something made up in the back of a gypsy's Winnebago somewhere on a hillside in Transylvania. They would still jump onto this belief bandwagon and use that term and then use it against you as well. They would say, well, that's my belief. Your beliefs are your beliefs, and my beliefs are my beliefs. Well, this is where you have to say, alhamdulillah, saying, okay, and you go and for your sake, as the Prophet used to say to people in some sense, may peace be upon him, for your sake, I hope you're right, because I'm saying is, you know, as a Muslim and as a true believer in God, your objective isn't really to be right for yourself. Your objective is really the hopes that I'm saying salvation can be I'm saying spread to all the people that you come across, and that you're able to channel. You're able to channel what you've been given and the insight that you've come to know, and be able to direct it to other people where maybe you won't start the movement that brings Islam to some island with no religion in the middle of the Pacific, but maybe something you say sparks the mind to the person who goes there and makes it happen. So you can never underestimate the power of a seemingly unimportant decision, because if you do something, you know, and you start a ripple effect, you may never see it. You may never realize that, you said something to a young man who went to a friend of his and told him what you said, and this caused this kid to contact the Islamic bookstore and begin ordering some stuff, and then became the next the next DDOT, see the next comparative religion genius, I'm saying, who just you know who who of course, I'm saying, these are the things that you have to take into account, that you just don't know, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always know best, and all as you can have is hopes that that the work you do is truly good. My name is Isa Sharia, and I'm a revert to Muslim, to Islamic studies, and through the Bureau of Prisons, I had spent some time where I studied all kinds of different things about scriptures, diving into everything from Catholicism to Odin, to touching up on some of the Judaism, and of course studying different versions of Christianity, and then I was brought to Jumma by by a dear friend of mine from Buffalo, New York, who was incarcerated at the time, a brother named Ramsey, a Yemeni brother, American, who was definitely Muslim before going to prison, but the strength of taqwa within him, and the being God conscience definitely grew over the course of him helping educate me and bringing me into the fold. But as soon as I came in to where we dressed up as the masjid in Lewisburg, in the federal prison system, you come into a room, and one of the long walls is a complete library, all bookshelves, and it's filled with different sections of religious books and religious study stuff, DVDs and whatnot for people to come in. Now, say there's ten bookshelves that make up the two main walls that hold all the books and all the media. So 80% of that stuff is Christian stuff, and no, okay, let's drop that back. 95% of it is Christian and Judaism stuff. Okay, and the other 5% is Islamic stuff, and then you'll find, a lot of other little tidbits of different things, Santeria, or uh, the followers of Selassie and the Rastafarian, or you'll find these different things, and you know people will go to all these, these really small cultish, non-god religious based things that are labeled as religion, especially within the prison system, and they'll look through all of them. And then of course they'll go through all the Christian books, coupled to touching the Jewish books. They're kind of dry, I think, so they have a tendency to take them, read a little bit, and then kind of put them down. But they'll not, for one instant, lay a finger on any Islamic book. So the bookshelf in the prison library for people looking for people looking for Muslim study books, like, they just were, untouched. Like, you couldn't walk into the prison library, and unless you were a Muslim, and grab a book off the bookshelf, like there was something telling you that no, that's not, you're not allowed. That's not permissible for you. That stuff, all that evil and wickedness, and it's really interesting, and it's really a shame too that a pretty good amount of Muslims have never really picked up any Islamic studies while they were, free or incarcerated, and that's something we're going to touch on quite a bit here over the next period of my life here, as I'm trying to reach an audience of people who are interested in learning about comparative religion, and looking at the commonality, and the different points, like the starting points, and the points and different split offs and the reformations, and trying to show people that there's only one religion of God, and that if you take it all the way back to God and creation, you're all going to be standing next to each other. I mean, that's the insanity of the problems in the world, where we're convinced that each other are rivals and arch enemies, and they're followers of the Mohammedan religion, or they're followers of Jesus, and oh, that's for white people, no, that's for Arabs, no, that's for black people. When a true believer that takes it back and learns where God's religion really started will really see that the basis for a lot of the stuff the prophets brought to us were to knock down boundaries. Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, was there to battle tribalism, to really turn it down and try to stop the feuding amongst his own people with each other, and everybody else too. But this is the tragedy in it. It's that the devil, the shaitan, he has worked diligently, you know, since all of creation, and his whole objective has been to convince the world that right is left, that left is wrong, good is bad, and he's doing a fantastic job, especially in the Western cultures, where you look at America and places, and you look at England, and you look at the holidays, you look at like Christmas, where you know Christmas is derived from um, a lot of Norse pagan stuff, and you're really celebrating Nichols, or something like a guy who is actually the red furry devil, and this is Santa Claus, the guy who flew around on a flying sleigh with lizards or snakes or fire breathing dragons pulling him with a satchel, and it wasn't for toys. The satchel was to snatch kids. So it's one of those things where like with the scary movie, they'll be like, the parents will be like, you know if you don't stop being bad, Candyman's gonna come for you. Well, way back when, I mean, Paus Nichols, who becomes Santa Claus in our modern time, is Candyman. This is a guy that the legends is that he's flying around, and he's snatching kids in a sack. So we've been kind of flipped over here in America, and it goes back to Constantine and his and his wanting to find a way to have the Romans stop feeding the Christians to the lions, because the religion the religion is taking off around the different provinces or states of Rome at the time, and the outstretched areas, and there's lots of Christians popping up, and the Romans are being really really terrible to them. Like they're snatching them, taking them to the Colosseum or other venues, and they're taking them out for the gladiators to have their way with, and the animals to feast on. And Constantine, who's a pagan, he's struggling with the fact that he loves the religion of his forefathers, but he also, being Caesar, wants to tax somebody. So if you have tens of thousands of Christians popping up, you have to try to find a way, if you're Caesar, to to try to tax them. So Caesar makes a calculated decision that he's going to choose Christianity as the religion of the Roman Empire. Now, when he does this, this all of a sudden, makes it safe for the Christians within the Roman territories, and it allows them to get the tax. But at the same time, the Romans were so heavy into their pagan religions that they would go and say, well, yeah, yeah, okay, well, they're Christians, or we're Christians, but we're still, Sunday is still going to be Sunday for Ra, the sun god, for us to celebrate him. And December 25th will still be the winter solstice, where we celebrate the birth of the son of the sun god Mithra. And and we're going to use the tales still of Mithra, being celebrated with bread and wine, and dying for the sins of people. Like these are things where they take this, they put it in a big stew pot, and then they take the faces from Christianity, and they mix it up, and they make this new age Roman religion that is a combination where people, places, and things have been swapped out, switched, changed, added to make it fit to Roman's procession. If pay of Caesar what is of Caesar. What I'm saying? Like, of course, you have to throw that in there. You have to have the Bible telling the people to pay Caesar, because the real point of this book that they're putting together when they make the canons is to pay Caesar. So when you're reading it, if it's and I'm not super up to date on my Holy Bible. I don't know if it's Acts of the Apostles, or if or both, or some of the Gospels, where you'll find where they talk about the question of, well, what do we do as I think the Pharisee are questioning Prophet Isa, or Jesus, may peace be upon him, about what to do if the Romans come to collect tax from them. And Jesus is in character, saying in the book, and gives a beautiful Confucius like sounding perfect quotable answer. And it's just like the rest of it. It's gorgeous. It sounds great, but I don't believe that God sent down legislation for Caesar to be able to tax us. God knows best. Lasapana Watawala can, you can question me about this, at the proper time. But I really have strong doubts that God had a favorable ruling for paying Caesar his tax. That's my opinion. Sometimes I'll have an opinion, and this is one of them times. Now, when they start developing these stories, to start developing, when the Roman Empire would make the huge transformation from the Roman Empire into the Roman Catholic Church, or the Vatican, and the Bank of the Vatican. And then you'll see as the movement of the energy of Rome Because what a lot of people who haven't spent a lot of time in jail or prison and read a lot of books on Caesar don't realize is that, like Julius Caesar spent very, very little time in Rome. Julius Caesar was in Gaul, where he was heading up towards Britain, and he was always on the move, slaughtering 400,000 or 500,000 or millions of people from here and there, cutting their arms off, and he's taking, he's taking the Roman energy. He wants to go across the sea. So the energy from Rome through Julius Caesar goes across, and it gets it penetrates into what's Britain now, or the United Kingdom. Okay, so you have to look at it when they speak of the West. A lot of times, there's the Western civilization. You really have to kind of backtrack and look and watch how the Greek, a lot of the Greek ideal and philosophies kind of were born into the Roman way, and then you look at the West as Rome went into the British Channel and crossed over, and the United Kingdom is really an extension of the Roman Empire at that time. And of course, things change. This is more of the shaitan trying to convince you, what I'm saying, that one thing is not what it looks like, or it isn't, or it is, and that some things you're just going to love, and if you really examine how it came to be, you're going to see that it was the enemy of everything you believed in. So in 1608, or something like that, um, they began. England then came over and began to, I think, colonize in Jamestown, and that was the movement of the Roman Empire heading from Rome, into the United Kingdom, and then over, across to North America. So if you look at pictures of the American Capitol, and even the grandest stuff in England and stuff, like, you see the residue left over from the Roman influence from God knows when back over, and now, so you have to understand is that, more or less, in America, Western civilization, Rome is alive and well. The Roman Empire, and we are, we are kind of taking it to the next level here in America, and it's it's really, it's something that, if you read into anything, if you're a Christian, if you want to read into the Holy Bible, if you're a Jew, you want to read in the Torah, and if you're a Muslim, you want to read the Quran, or some tafsir on the Quran, or somebody, you get deep into it. You really see that the problems that we're displaying in America at this time have been being talked about since the first time that any translations of these books, came to be. You listen to people, talking about what's going on in Dubai and places like that, and then you flip through these books, and they're like, the end days are going to come at a time when herders are competing for the tallest buildings in the desert. There's so much of this. So this is the importance of trying to understand how revelations come to be, how the Word of God is brought to His prophets and His messengers, and how, what I'm saying, like, and how this Word is how it's supposed to be maintained over the course of time. Okay, so we are 25 minutes in, and that was about as far as I was looking to go for this little talk of 117th in Lorain. Um, I'll probably jump back on and put something out a couple times over the weekend, and hopefully I can get into a rhythm with it where I'm going on once or twice a day, and I'm going to touch into a couple key things as far as my life goes, and as far as things that, you know I see issues where things need to be talked about. I want to focus. I want to focus. I want to focus, number one, of course, on God's religion. You know what I'm saying? It's important in all aspects of everything. You know, number two, I want to focus on criminality. I want to focus on substance abuse. And then I want to focus on reentry. And I also want to touch on a lot of politics. Um, not necessarily, you know, stuff to do with elections and things like that, but really focusing on the belief systems and why we should or shouldn't maybe look at things in certain ways that we do. So, okay, my friends, until later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know what I'm saying? And, shalom to any of the followers of Jesus Christ. And remember that there's only one religion of God in the world. Sin lam mim, and if you're speaking a dialect of the Aramaic or the Arabic, if you're saying shalom or salam, you're saying the same thing. Peace, brothers. See you soon.